and they cut the alarm wires, the phone wires, everything, the camera wires as they
What?
went
This is
in.
like Mission Impossible
Yeah,
stuff. This is
yeah,
crazy.
legit,
It's like
legit.
Tom
This
Cruise did
happened,
this.
pretty much, right? I wish Tom Cruise did it, right? But no, Tom Cruise did not do this. And they got into the office. Somebody was planning this for some time.
Ocean's 11, they had like an acrobat come in.
I've never seen the Ocean's 11 movie, so I couldn't tell you. But long story short, now there's no alarm, there's no cameras, there's no phone. So he had all the snacks to himself. He was there for like 4 or 5 hours all night, and he found the keys to the changer machines. Right? He took out all the quarters, but the front door was not a turn lock; it was a key lock from the inside. So he wasn't able to leave with the quarter buckets. Otherwise, he would have opened the front doors, loaded his car with the quarter buckets too, and carried on with his life. But he just took all the cash, went back through the ceiling. So he had to do more work. So he had to go back into the ceiling, crawl through the beams or whatever, go back into the AC unit and leave. And that's how we figured out.
All right. Today we have with us Omer Khan, who is the owner and operator of Skyline Laundromats in Atlanta. And how many do you have right now, Omar?
We have four.
That's what I was thinking. Are you trying to do a fifth anytime soon or
Always looking.
always looking?
Always
Good.
looking. So, it's my father and I that, we run the business together. And obviously, he started the business. I'm second generation into it. Grew up taking out quarters all my life. On the weekends, I should say, right? Outside of school and weekends. And so it was always like a field trip. And then, but full time, almost 10 or 11, 10 plus years now that, I did corporate America for a couple of years after college. And I found a few mentors along the way, and found a few opportunities as I was transitioning from corporate to business world, and that's been a big piece to the puzzle of where I am today.
How many team members do you have now?
We're in the ballpark of 24 to
Yeah,
25,
us too. Yep.
between the laundromats, the drivers, and then the overnight staff that does the processing for the pickup and delivery.
And you mentioned your dad actually bought some of the property is that for all four laundromats that you guys own the real estate as well, or is that just a few of them?
No, the two that he did initially, we own the properties. The other two that we got over the last several years, we leased them.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, we own two of ours and then we lease one of ours as well. But the one that we lease out, it's been really good too, and we like our landlords and all that, so it's been okay. But you're fully
Both
attended at.
are,
Go ahead.
yeah, we're sorry. I was just gonna say that we both have perks, right? Owning
Yeah,
properties is obviously it's good. It's a different type of pride and different type of it's a different vision, but it comes with a lot of responsibility, right? Parking lot goes bad, you got potholes, you got to redo a whole parking lot, 45, 50,000, depending on the size, where you are, what state you're in, right?
yeah,
So 4 years, 5 years ago, we redid two of our parking lots that we own. It was not cheap, right? But now 5 years later, we're in the midst of getting them resealed and repainted, and a new coating, right? Especially with the
yeah,
World Cup coming in, we're like, hey,
yep.
let's just go ahead and do it. But it's expensive, right? So they started yesterday, actually. So
That's
so we're in the
awesome.
middle of that, right? So just got to deal with that kind of stuff. And then with the two properties that we lease, it was not part of the plan, but we got lucky with both the landlords redoing both of our parking lots this year alone, just in this first quarter of this year. So it's kind of up to date and good looking, good for the brand, good for the good for the business. So excited about that.
It feels so good to have that done, and then it's good for another like 5 years or so. And we I was gonna say the same thing, is that owning the property is great, but then like we just recently, in fact, this week we had to close for a day because we had a water line leak
Mm-hmm.
in between the building and the main line. I guess I don't know how you say that, but yeah, it was a big, $10,000 repair, and we had to
Yeah,
shut down the store
yeah.
for half a day.
For one of the laundromats where it's a big parking lot because we're in a center, right? And it's an old center. The underground pipes are cast iron, right?
Right.
Obviously, I would have never known that. I've been dealing with this for the last 8 years, right? About 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we had to be shut down for 2 weeks because the whole parking, not the whole, but there was like a big section of the parking lot that they had to dig up because it kept backing up. And everything just kept backing up into our lint trap, into the
Mm.
laundromats, and no one else was affected because they're just non-water. They're only using bathrooms for their businesses. They're fine. But for us, we were down for literally 14 days. It was
Ooh.
bad. It was brutal. I was not happy. But it is what it is. You just ride out the storm. And there's no makeup for it. There's no makeup business. There's no insurance claim on it.
Right.
Luckily, landlord took care of it at the time. It was our previous landlord, but still, loss is a loss, and you just gotta ride it out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal. Are you fully attended at all for your locations?
Yes, yes. All four
And are you
locations fully
still
attended.
do you still have a few open 24/7?
I have two
Two are open
24/7s,
24/7.
and
Okay.
they have a night attendant as well.
Okay. What revenue mix do you think you're doing as far as, and you can just give me percentages, but I know for us, we did, and some of the listeners may have heard these numbers before, but we did about 2.5 million in 2025 top line revenue for our three stores. And then of that revenue, about 70% was self-serve. And then the other
Hmm.
30% was wash, dry, fold. And that
Hmm.
includes some of our like larger commercial accounts in that 30%. Um, but I know you are more into delivery than we are. At least I think you were last time I talked to you. Do you know kind of like the revenue percentage? Like,
We're starting to out the pickup and delivery is starting to outgrow the like if I for I do we process the pickup and delivery from one location only, right?
okay,
So if I were to just compare from that location to pickup and delivery, my pickup and delivery numbers are starting to outgrow my self-service business,
wow, that's incredible.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are big numbers.
It is, right? So obviously we want our self-service to grow as well. We want our wash-dry-fold to grow as well.
Hmm.
But obviously we have to make some modifications for that to happen, right? In the evening or later at night when the ladies are processing all the orders and then there's less washers and dryers available for customers, and you tend to run them away, which has been happening over the years, right? Unfortunately. But now we're at the point where we have some storage behind the laundromat, and we're just
Hmm.
going to turn that into a production facility. I wish I had done that 5 years ago, right? But now we're at the point I'm going to have to turn my back storage space into a full production facility. That's so at least 80% of my operations move to the back. If there's a few machines in the front being, used, it's fine. But at least majority of the operations will move to the back eventually, sometime this year. So
Okay.
once that happens, then hopefully then the goal is to maybe even turn that laundromat into 24 hours. So now
Okay.
the production's in the back, hire front night attendant, then we'll be able to grow our, nighttime, evening time, nighttime business back as well. So it's all thoughts right now. Haven't really come to a conclusion of what's going to happen. Besides, we are going to move everything to the back.
And we've been doing the point of sale thing for about 10 years. So just the second half of it, I've probably seen at least five of my customers open a processing facility that
Hmm.
is just dedicated to commercial accounts and wash, dry, fold orders. And it's not open to the public. It's just an area that they do everything that's not, what the basic laundromat is. When you think about that as a business model, I think people hear that. And I've had people try and open that without the laundromats first, and it never works. I've never seen that work without the revenue, right? And so, like, when you have the revenue and you have the demand, then you open the supply to supply the demand. You open the processing facility. versus, anyone I've seen do it that way that has multiple laundromats and opens a processing facility, I've seen that succeed. But then I've had a few people that I've seen them do the opposite, where they're like, I don't want a laundromat open to the public. I just want to do, um, wash, dry, fold, and delivery. I just want to have a processing facility. The demand for that is comes along a little slower, right? And the customer acquisition costs are a little higher and all that. And so if you try and create that supply before the demand, I've not seen that work. But it's interesting to hear that yet another one of our customers is doing a processing facility, which I think is great because it just shows, that your business is going well and that you've got more demand than what you can supply. And like you said, you don't want to hurt your self-serve numbers by running them off, which I know is an issue.
I was gonna say anyone that is looking to get into that self-service slash pickup and delivery space, right? Or pickup and delivery space only, then it's a different story. Then of course you look for a warehouse type setting or a place where you don't open to public. It can be behind the center. You don't have to be street facing, and you can run a pickup and delivery facility. But if you're trying to do both self-service and pickup and delivery, obviously it's harder, but you want to try to find a space where you can kind of have both things in one space but divided. That
Yeah,
way you're only paying one rent, right? Or
right.
you own the property. Obviously, it gets a little expensive, or it gets into your profits if you have to. Let's just say you're renting a laundromat, and now you're outgrown your pickup and deliveries. Like where I'm at right now, if it was a smaller space, and if I was outgrowing my self-service, and I had to go rent another space to do pickup and delivery in a whole different facility, I'd think twice to do this business, right?
Yeah,
Unless you're doing really big numbers, like
yeah.
really ridiculously big numbers, like six-figure type business numbers, and multiple six figures, then of course, then it's worth it, right? I'm a little blessed where my laundromat is, where my pickup and delivery is. I can behind the wall, I have some square footage. I can,
Yeah.
put some machines there and not go anywhere else and pay, another five, six, seven, $8,000 rent, right? I'm already paying for one space, and I can now do both things, right? Was it part of the
Right.
plan 8 years ago when I bought this laundromat? No, but it worked out. So anyone in the future that is looking for a laundromat slash self-service slash pickup and delivery space, and if you're trying to go into a 2,500 square foot space or a 3,000 square foot space, you can manage, but you're going to have to put a lot of less machines to have a separate dedicated pickup and delivery space, right? But then if you have the option to go 4,000 or 5,000 square feet space, and you can, dedicate some of that just for pickup and delivery, then you'll be comfortable to grow, and you'll even outgrow that space one day too, hopefully,
Yeah.
but you'll just have to plan accordingly.
I was talking to Sharon Brinks about this on our last episode, and I was telling her how, her stores look so nice, and it's got our little point of sale system there and all that. And she had based that store on Delaware, but the biggest difference is that Delaware has like this kind of space in the back where you can store all the soaps and the vending and and then it's got more storage for finished orders. And I was complimenting her on, I mean, her laundromat does look amazing. She was like, yeah, but I wish I had gotten more space for the
For wash and fold.
processing, for the storage. And I think that that's pretty consistent. I mean, we have a 5,000 square foot facility, and I think you need to dedicate at least 1,000 square feet to the wash, dry, fold, and the
Mm-hmm.
little office and the processing and I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so yeah, and I think, I mean, that was the third one we did, right? So that was the one we had kind of learned that, yeah, you need to dedicate more space to that than you think. And in the other one, the one that we lease, we had like a dog grooming place next to us, and we got that space when, and then we had like a different, so we ended up just getting a like addition every time there would be a business next to us, we would just grow bigger and bigger. You had
Speaking
something
of
similar
that,
like that, right?
speaking of dog grooming, I want to set up an animal station. Um,
For
in one of
washing.
my, yeah, I'm thinking about it. It's in my pipeline. I think once I'm done setting up my production space, And if I stumble across another laundromat opportunity, of course, I'm going to jump on that first. But in one of my existing stores, I have space to put a animal washing station. So that's something that I've been really thinking about for the last maybe 6 months. Like if I did it, how would I do it? What would I do? And where would I put it? And all the logistics. So it's all in my head right now. I haven't put it on pen and paper, but that's something I'm really considering.
Well, logistics is something that a lot of people don't think a lot about. And obviously, as you scale and as you get years under your belt, you do kind of figure out that there is kind of this workflow through each area of the business. And I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about your workflow for the wash, dry, fold and for any commercial accounts and kind of how that works with the attendants and, how do they utilize the software and the hardware that you have there.
With the Wash-Dry-Fold POS system?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a big advocate of the Wash-Dry-Fold POS, right? Now, of course, there's a lot of great softwares out there now, and they're all doing their own, part. But I'm a diehard fan of your system, and I think we're maybe 4 years plus now. I think, if I'm not mistaken, on the system. So I have two of your new registers and two of the older ones, but it's working fine right now.
Good.
And my employees love it, right? Initially, when I first got it, one of my employees like, I'm gonna quit because we were going from Clover to this. I don't want a new system and blah blah blah. And I was like, just give it a week. You're gonna be. And my Hispanic employee who speaks a little English, not too much, was training the American employee.
Oh my God, that's
like
awesome.
3 days into it. I was so excited. I was like, thank God, because she's one of my favorite. She still is, one of our best. And she learned it very fast. And the system does great, right? It's helped, especially with having a credit card on file and allowing that for your residential or commercial customers to have that on file. And you can be like, hey, just drop it off and we'll bill it to your card. So that's been very successful, I would say. I don't know how many, time my employees are actually using it for the customers, but time to time when I do see that, it's good because then customers are happy. They just drop it off and they walk off, right? They don't have to worry about it. Especially our old customers that has been with us for a long time. And then the other good part is that it's a one customer base, right? So now I have customers that can go from before my laundromats were branded differently. So now all of them are branded same. We have the one POS system. My card systems, I wanted to be one. I couldn't do one card system, unfortunately. The loyalty card system for the washers and dryers. So that I'm a little bummed out, but when it comes to the POS system, one brand of the laundromats has really helped customers kind of have the liberty to go from, one location to another, and their information's there. Everything gets labeled the same way, printed the same way. So that's been rewarding for sure.
I appreciate you saying that, and we've really enjoyed having you as an advocate for us. And we're
Yeah.
always, Brian told me to tell you that he did not forget about your feature request and he
Oh,
is working on
yes.
it, the
Oh,
alphabetical
yes.
sorting thing. Yes. So
I was waiting. I was gonna send him a friendly email reminder.
reminder, hey, come on.
I've told this story many times, and I'll say this on the podcast too. And it may not happen every time for anybody that will try to do this, right? But I think I got lucky. It was my second conference in my laundromat world. I was at it was not called the Excellence, it was called the Elevate
Yeah,
conference
I
that
remember
was at
that.
the Huntington Beach, right? So
Yes.
we were there, and it was some feature I asked Brian before going to bed. Like we were in the lobby, we were about to go to bed. And I was like, Brian, if your POS system just had this one feature at that time, it was early on, I think it would be like really nice and helpful. And I just left it at that. I didn't think too much of it. I thought it might be a couple of months, maybe 6 months until it'll happen. But that was it. He comes down the next morning at breakfast and he taps me on my shoulder. He's like, Omer, the feature's already in testing. I'm like, I just
That's
told you
awesome.
like 12 hours ago, and I'm thinking, he might have some developer that's in out of the country that's going to be doing it. No, I don't know how long he stayed up, but he stayed up. He put it in works, and the next morning it was already in testing. And by the time I think I was back in Atlanta, if not the following week, it was in the POS, and literally that one service from Brian has kept me in the door till this day. That one act, you know. So when I told him about this feature, I was like, with the feature that I told him last week at the conference, I was like, I know you won't do it tonight, but if you can do this soon, it'll be great.
Just like last time, I'd like this in 12 hours, please.
12 hours, please. But yeah, that one act of his, has kept me in the door. And I wish there were other vendors that would not, I'm not saying a 12-hour time frame, but act fast like that. That'd be nice.
I think one thing that's always been important to us is that we are solving real problems for real people. And like this is not a tool that's gonna revolutionize the world or some crazy thing. This is like, no, this is for laundromat owners so that they can save time and like make more money and like have an efficient, well-run business. And
Yeah.
that's what we build. And Brian has always been, for one, he's incredibly a fast developer, and we now have 3 other developers as well, 2 other full-time developers that are developing just as fast. With the AI tools now, you can develop even faster.
Sure.
So we're trying to kind of accelerate that. I guess you call it product velocity, but yeah, I mean, we're always trying to do new features, and we always build features that people actually ask for instead of like the features that are just kind of like, who knows, maybe it'll work or maybe it'll help one of these days. But no, I appreciate you saying that about Brian, and I know that we've really enjoyed your feature requests. They're always good suggestions. So to give you the credit where credit's due, we do have people ask for ridiculous stuff, and we just say, no, we're not going to build that. But like, if it's like an actual laundromat owner who actually needs something real, we're like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Because if it benefits you, it's going to benefit a lot of other people.
For sure.
Versus like, I've literally had people that have never owned a laundromat and they don't own the system be like, well, can you build this? And it's like, I don't know how to tell you this, but that's a terrible idea. Like, no one's going to use that if we do build it. You know what I mean? So it's like, we definitely, if you ask for something that's valuable, we will build it. Not always in 12 hours, but
of course. And of course, alongside Brian, you have been an essential part of this relationship as well. And then along with one of your workers, Chelsea, and I've told her this 100 times. Yeah. She's a gem. And
she is.
She's amazing. So anyways, but yeah, so the system is great. Anybody that's looking for a POS, definitely check out WDF.
I really appreciate you saying that. It was so funny when we were at the last clean show. Chelsea was like a celebrity. Like the people that I sold systems to, they would just walk right past me and right to Chelsea. We love Chelsea. And it's just so fun.
Yeah. I told her, I was like, the next time I come to, is it Kentucky, right?
She's in Kentucky,
Kentucky. I'm going to come horseback riding. So
yeah, she'll do it too. She's amazing.
That's good.
So you mentioned that you tried to have the same coinless systems, the same card systems, loyalty card systems. Do you have 2 CCI right now and then 2 something else? Or tell me what the mix is.
Yeah, 2 CCI. One is a hybrid store with Laundroworks. Okay. And then I have one that's quarter only. And here in the next couple of months, I just have to finish. It's like that store's just been like a partial retool over the last few years. My other 3 laundromats are completely retooled in the last like 5 years. And then this one's we've been partially retooling. So we're just going to finish the whole retool and add a card system. And then I just got to make a hard decision of which direction I'm gonna go in. So
it's always a tough one. I will say something that has been important to us in this past year or two is we've built these machine start integrations with both Laundroworks and with Steve from Fast Card, Laundry Card, CCI, yes. And so either system you go with now, with the Laundroworks, the way that one works is you do the WashLinks app, and you basically the employees would just the order will populate in their app, and they'll just select the order and then start the machine for that order from their phone. And then with CCI, you basically just tap the screen of which washers and dryers you want to start, and it'll just start those, which is a little bit better than them having just the card that then they can use for every, and you don't know if they're using, the card for, I mean, you can run the reports obviously, and I think that's
But
a good
how
thing to
many
do, but
times, right? How many times are you going to sit there and go through every single report and sometimes it just becomes a trust system, right?
that's right.
Unless you start catching it's just a matter of you catch one person and then you start opening a can of worms, right?
Right. Yep.
So
That is exactly how it works. And
both
everyone I
systems
talk
are
to,
great.
yeah.
Both systems have their own perks. But yeah, I just have to make that hard decision. I don't know. There's one, I want to go in one direction, but just technology and some things like if I want to keep it a hybrid store, then, one
That's
system
hard.
doesn't support it, one system does. So just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, Steve's always been pretty good about the hybrid card
Oh yeah,
thing.
for
Yep.
sure. For sure. 100%. And
With
Steve has been a very essential part of CCI too. He's awesome. He's humble. He's amazing. Very friendly, and I enjoy talking to him a lot.
Yeah, me
Very
too.
like personal. Like you kind of have that personal relationship, so it's good.
He was the first guest on this podcast, and part of it was because I just knew how easy he is to talk to and get
Yeah,
along with, and
for sure.
he's just a great guy. So yeah. Um, do you put the little card systems on? Because I know you do retail at both your counter and you have vending machines. And I was listening to your episode, your other podcast, or your YouTube video, or whatever it is, and I heard you say one of the same things that we say a lot, which is, yeah, sure, you've got the soaps and the snacks at the counter, but also you have them at the vending machines, because what if someone at the counter is busy, or what if they just don't want to talk to someone that day? Or we actually have the flip of that happen a lot, where these people, they don't get out of the house more than once a week, and that's just to do their laundry, and so they want to go talk to someone to buy a snack, or they want to have some interaction and chat with the attendants at the counter or whatever. And so I think there are a lot of benefits to having both. But I wanted to hear your thoughts on that. And also if you had the card systems connected to that, like if you have put that through Laundroworks and CCI and stuff.
For the car system, I've only connected them to the bathrooms
Okay.
and
That's right.
the register.
Okay.
When it comes to the drink machine, snack machine, and even the soap machine, I have them on credit card readers, like NIAX credit card readers.
Yeah. Okay.
I've kept that only because we're a very transient city. There's a lot of people that live nearby, or there's in a
I
shopping
see.
center, there's a gas station next door to one of us. We're at a school bus stop, or the MARTA bus stops. All four of our laundromats are at MARTA bus stops. Yeah, some of them I don't want them inside, but if they're just coming in to buy a drink and a snack and they're minding their own business, it's okay.
Yeah.
So it kind
That
of
is
keeps
fine.
that door open to allowing a laundry customer to come in, go ahead and buy a drink and snack, and carry on, right?
Yep.
But we don't have an issue where if people are coming in and trying to use your Wi-Fi and just buying a drink and hanging out, they know better. It's not going to be tolerated.
That's
So,
right.
and if it happens once a year, it's okay. It's not a big deal. So it just just try to keep both options open.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I hadn't even thought about that before, but we did have ATMs before we moved to coinless. We had ATMs so people could pull out cash. Now you can just, use the value add center. But we would have people come in and use the ATMs. And sometimes it was like a little bit like there was a reason they weren't using their bank's ATM or whatever. They wanted a weird kind of ATM on a standalone, and they would make a special trip just for that. And so, yeah, I haven't necessarily missed that foot traffic, because you get the $2, but then like,
The
there's
headache that comes with it.
right, right. You don't necessarily want people to feel unsafe.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
obviously you don't want people to feel unsafe, but it's not necessarily worth the $2 to
Correct.
have
No.
in, to have in that extra traffic
It's
and
funny you
disturbance.
say that, right? At my other laundromats, I have ATM, bill breaker, let's just say card system all
Hmm.
together, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so yeah, customer will get an ATM, they'll get a user bill breaker, and then put in a loyalty card system, and then wash and dry. And at three of my four laundromats, I don't have a homeless issue, right? They come and
Hmm.
go, they're walking by, whatever, but not hanging out. But at one of my locations, I've been there for 2 years, and boy, it's been brutal, right? Just getting them out of that parking lot is like not happening. Like I just have to
Hmm.
like city of Atlanta police, forget it, right? They're busy,
Yeah.
they're understaffed, they're working hard, and they're probably tired of them too, right?
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
there's one or two homeless I try to keep a good relationship with. I like to help them out when I can, and then
Sure.
they want to make a few bucks, and hey, clean the parking lot, empty the trash. We're doing vending machines, come and break the boxes and throw them in the dumpster, or clean the
Right.
ceiling fans or something. But if I'm there, they know for them to come in. But then there are some that they're just there and they harass customers. It's annoying. It's really bad, right? And so for that reason, I did not put a bill breaker in my payment center wall
Yep.
because then they're just gonna come and break the bills and try to do whatever and just be inside. So I
Yep.
just had to like modify my whole system because these guys just won't leave the parking lot, right?
Yep.
So these are just different issues you deal with. From obviously you want to have one system, you want to have tomorrow, God willing, I have 20 laundromats, then I'll be less worried and I'll just do one system, period, right? But
Yep.
because we're still mom and pop and very hands on, then you can make those modifications.
Yeah. The bill breaker too for our stores, that was like one of the very last things that we outsourced to because I mean, you know the reasons why, obviously. But that was kind of like my thing of like, you know, we had other people fixing the machines and other people fixing this and that and doing all this. But like if the bill breaker broke, then you would
Hmm.
call Ian. Whereas actually we would use the little repair ticket system. And then Brian would usually call me and be like, "Hey, can you stop by?" And those bill breakers jam a lot because they like if you have too many bills, they'll jam, but not like right when you're loading them, you'll leave and then like a day later they'll jam. Or if you have too few, they'll jam. And so Brian like 3D printed these little like bill shaped things that like flatten it out and that keep them more straight. And so it's almost like there's so many like little tricks and tips and like
Nice.
these little things, but yeah, the bill breakers are not maintenance free, and so I have to agree with you 100% on that one.
It just took me almost 1 year to fix one of them. I had one bill breaker down in one of my locations. It was
Yeah.
down for 1 year. We sent it to Chicago like 3 or 4 times. They weren't able to figure it out.
Wow.
And it was like a lot of just back and forth. And it's just sitting in the box, and it's sitting in the
Yep.
bill breaker. Then they're sending it off for a couple of weeks. And finally, they were like, okay, send it to one company in Louisiana. We sent it to them. And then they figured it out and
Wow.
got it up and running right away. Said, sometimes you deal with it, right? It is what
Yeah.
it is.
Oh, and it's not like they're cheap either. I mean, we paid a lot for ours, and they
Yeah, they're ten
still,
thousand dollar
yeah,
machines, $8,000 to $10,000 machines. Then you start questioning yourself: Do I really need it? Should I put it in my next
right.
build out? Maybe I can save that cost and put it in something else, right? Maybe
Yeah.
we can just
Mhm.
change our system, but who knows? What's
Yeah.
there's no right or wrong formula, but obviously it's best to just have 1 to 2 processes and just trying to and stick to that, depending on your demographics, your location, and all that.
Yep. We eventually did get the bill breakers off our plate. We've got a guy that now refills them and he can fix them when they break, which is
Amazing,
regularly and yeah,
amazing.
and or when they get jammed rather. And
Sure.
there's the whole thing
Yeah.
of pulling them out and pull it back in, and then you get so this is a whole
Yeah.
lot of thing. But I know you've got to leave relatively soon, so I want to make sure we get to this question. What do you think is the craziest thing that you have ever seen or that has ever happened to you in all your years across all your laundromats? The best story, the best story to tell to other laundromat owners. If they're afraid it's going to be dull, what would you tell them?
You know, obviously there's a lot of crazy stories out there, and I know people have had some really funny ones, some really bad ones.
Yeah.
I would say I've been blessed to say that I haven't had too many bad ones, right? Obviously, thefts happen all the times. Like, hey, like one employee left her purse open. Of course, someone's gonna walk in and make sure you're in the back, and or they're gonna send somebody else to divert them and steal the purse or steal the cell phone, right? Small things like that happen, right? That's
We've had
normal
that happen
stuff.
too.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's all normal stuff. Nothing crazy about that. The
Yep.
two craziest ones that I've kind of dealt with, I would say, one of them, I was much younger when this happened, but it happened. Actually, wait, I have two really good ones. Yeah,
Okay,
never mind.
let's
I
hear
have
it.
two good ones. And this could be one of them is definitely a lesson because this is real time happening. And this one happened back in October with us. I completely forgot about this one. So the first one, though, it happened when I was much younger. Um, my employee at that time, the laundromat was or was not 24 hours. I don't remember, but my employee came in the morning. It was not 24 hours. Correct. It was not 24 hours. The employee came in, opened the front door. She then opened her employee office door, noticed it was a little bit open, then noticed there were a couple of buckets of quarters over there. And she was like, maybe, maybe my dad came in and left it there, or maybe he's around the corner, maybe he's in the back. She couldn't figure it out. Then once she tried to disarm the alarm, couldn't disarm the alarm.
Ooh.
Then get a little suspicious, and then she sees our door handle broken. Like our office that goes from inside the employee office, that was kind of open or loose or something. So then she was able to open our door, and then like everything was just all over the place. So long story short, this guy or group of guys who I don't remember, but what they did was they went from the roof into the commercial AC units and on the roof.
What?
So they opened where the filter panel, the metal panel where the
Uh-huh.
filters are,
Uh-huh.
and they went inside the panel, and I wouldn't even know how they would basically crawl through the ceiling because it's all ceiling tiles. But I guess they used the metal beams inside to kind of make their way in. And they cut the alarm wires, the phone wires, everything, the camera wires as they
What?
went
This is
in.
like Mission Impossible stuff.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yeah,
crazy.
legit,
It's like Tom
this
Cruise did
happened.
this.
Pretty much, right? I wish Tom Cruise did it, right? But no, Tom Cruise did not do this. And they got into the office. Somebody had to be like kind of, it was a pre-plan. It's not like you just do this right away, right? Somebody was planning this for some time.
Ocean's 11, they had like an acrobat come in.
I've never seen the Ocean's 11 movie, so I couldn't tell you. But long story short, now there's no alarm, there's no cameras, there's no phone. So he had all the snacks to himself. He was there for like 4 or 5 hours all night, and he found the keys to the changer machines. Right? He took out all the quarters, but the front door was not a turn lock; it was a key lock from the inside. So he wasn't able to leave with the quarter buckets. Otherwise, he would have opened the front doors, loaded his car with the quarter buckets too, and carried on with his life. But he just took all the cash, went back through the ceiling. So he had to do more work. So you had to go back into the ceiling, crawl through the beams or whatever, go back into the AC unit and leave. And that's how we figured out, because when the fire and the police came and they started investigating, they were like, why is the AC units open upstairs? And that's how we figured that out.
Wow. That is actually a really good story. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. So that was
That's
story number.
crazy.
That's the one crazy one. The recent craziest one. This is like the funny one, like funny and crazy at the same time. And it's funny. It happened to two other people in Atlanta that I personally know. Okay. Scammers. They're calling, and they'll call your store phone, and then they'll basically like make you go puzzle. I don't know how they do it, but they're good at this, right? They're scammers. So they basically got my overnight. He's an older man, much older guy. So they scared him. They hypnotized him. They called the store phone. They knew my name, knew his name, knew all my employees' names. And then they were like, hey, we're going to ask you to call, we're going to call you on your cell phone too. So now they got him on both phones. So now he can't call 911. He probably won't answer my call and not call anyone else, right? So now they have him on both phones, and they're like, we need you to go inside the main office. Omar's in trouble, and we need to wire some money. And he's like, I don't have access. Somehow they knew that we had a crowbar in the back. They're like, go find something, go find a shovel, go find a crowbar, go find something in the back room. So he goes and he does it. He picks up the crowbar, he gets into the office, breaks the crowbar with the office. Granted, this all happened around 1:30 in the morning. It's a 24-hour laundromat. This happened around 1:30 in the morning. I'm at my sister's home. We're having coffee at that time. We're drinking tea or something around that time. And probably 15 minutes prior to this, I was checking the cameras. Okay. And I was, because we had just gotten our store painted like 2 days prior to that. So I was kind of admiring the paint, and I was like, okay, there's only 1 or 2 customers. I see him walking around the laundromat, but I remember seeing him on both phones. Like, he had both phones in his hand. I'm like, he's talking to somebody, like, well, whatever. But he's inside the laundromat. That's all that matters. Right. And long story short, he took the crowbar, broke into one of the coin machines. Yeah, not the card machines. Broke into the quarter machine. The scammers got him to put several $1,000s worth of quarters all on the laundry cart, take it across the street to Kroger at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning at this point, and started putting quarters into the machine where you get the cash out. So he did that. So he gave almost, I would say, 80% of our quarters in until that machine said, hey, we're full. And then he got all that cash. He has it in his pocket. And then he told my employee to put it into one of those Bitcoin machines.
Right.
Luckily, the Bitcoin machine was out of order.
Oh, my goodness.
So then he said, oh, why don't you just go down the street? There's a Chevron gas station. They have it. So he was about to. And after 3-4 hours of doing this, okay, this is like 3-4 hours, and it's like 5 a.m. now. Then something kind of like struck his mind. It was like, something's not adding up. He's like, you want me to go? You went from there to the Kroger, now from here to the gas station. This doesn't make sense. He's like, no, go do it, blah, 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 blah. He's like, but why? Now he starts questioning. Now he starts thinking like, okay, this is not making sense. And then he hung up. Luckily, he hung up. He called back, and it was not going through. And it was almost $4,000 in cash that he was about to just give away, right? So then he came back to the laundromat. He called me, and I'm like, bro, come on. You got to be kidding me right now. But it happened.
That's crazy.
Luckily, like, he didn't go to Chevron. The machine was down at Kroger, so our cash got saved.
Wow.
He gave every single penny back. He didn't run away with it. He didn't do anything with it. And he brought it back to the laundromat, waited until I got there, and I got there till like 11 a.m. He's like, I'm not leaving until you have. I'm like, just leave it in the office. I'll hand it. He's like, nope, you come and then I'll give you the cash. I'm like, okay. He was scared. He was upset. He was scared. He was frustrated.
Well, sure. Yeah.
He was like at the verge of crying. So that happened. But it happened to my other employee 2 years ago. There was a new lady. Wow. I hired her at another laundromat. The guy told her, hey, Omar's in the hospital. Don't call his dad. Don't call him. And they took a fire extinguisher, and she started banging on my office door. But because we have metal doors, we don't have residential doors. A lot of people put residential doors in their laundromats, like in their bathrooms or their janitorial rooms. Spend the money, put metal doors. Because we had strong metal doors, she spent 35 to 40 minutes with that fire extinguisher. All she did was break our lock and a lot of like dents on our door, but she couldn't get in. Right?
Wow.
So yeah, there's some crazy. This is the extent of the crazy stuff that's happened to us, but yeah, it's happened. So train your employees, let them know. Any scammers call, just hang up. Don't believe it. Hey, you got your boss is in the hospital. You can't call them, or you'll go to jail, or you'll die. They'll come up with the craziest stories. They'll hypnotize you, and it'll happen. It happened, and it happened to 2 other laundromat owners here in Atlanta.
Wow, that is crazy. That makes me want to
Yeah.
do like a little like meeting with all the staff and be like, these are the signs that you're talking to a scammer and don't do these
Yeah.
things that they.
Yeah.
That is so crazy. I've never heard that before, but man, I believe it. I've heard those podcasts where they'll like hypnotize people or like get them to do such crazy stuff. And it's
The
like they
other
don't
guy
even
in
know that
Atlanta
they're doing it.
whose employee it happened to, she actually ended up giving, I think, $2,500 or $3,000 into the Bitcoin machine. So
Okay.
then she actually ended up going to jail that same night. But then obviously the owner didn't feel good. He bailed her back out, kept her the job, but then she paid him back over the next 2, 3, 4 months, whatever. But it happened.
Wow, that is so crazy.
Yeah,
It's so crazy.
yeah.
Can you imagine they're going to have AI that's going to be good enough to do that too? And so they'll just have AI calling
Yeah,
all the
because your
laundromats
voice.
trying to.
It's your voice, right? They
Yeah.
can use your voice. They can use
Yeah.
my voice to call my employee right now and say, do this and do this and do this.
Yeah.
But if I'm telling you on the phone to break my door, that's your red flag.
Right.
That's your red flag,
Or
right?
to do
Either-
anything with the cash like that. Yeah.
If I've never told you 364 days out of the year, then that one day I'm not gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
If not,
Yeah.
if you can't call me, if you think something doesn't sound right, hang up, call my dad. If something doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
call another store. Just call anybody and whoever you can to make sure that this is fake.
Yeah, that's a good point. We need to have a list of like these are the 4 people you verify with.
Yeah.
If you get asked something unusual, then here's your list of phone numbers and
Which I
any
probably
of the
should do.
management. Do what?
Yeah, which I probably should do.
Well, that's the thing is that if you would call any of the managers, like you and your dad, or for me, it's me or Brian. But then also we have 3 managers. If you call them on their cell and they pick up, they're going to tell you that it's a scam. But
Yeah, 100%.
you make such a good point with the AI. And then what if it's my voice or Brian's voice, and they're just trying to do their job and keep their job? Then that's man. I feel like we covered some good ground today, man. I know you've got to go. You've got to go
It's
pick
okay.
up some kids, right?
Yeah, yeah, no worries. I hope I was able to, have a good podcast.
Oh, it was amazing, man. It's my
Yeah.
favorite. It's really was incredible, and your stories were excellent there at the end. You did not disappoint with the craziest stories. They're actually actionable too. I actually want to go
Yeah.
take some action for our laundromats because I could totally see this happening to some of our employees. So I really
Yeah, my
appreciate
dad
it, man.
actually messaged me last week or called me or something. He was like, "Hey, Omer, make sure we remind all the employees about scamming and this and that." I was like, "Yeah, I need to," and I'll probably do it sometime this week. But yeah,
No, we need to. That's what this is. I'm going to put some stuff together. I'll CC you on what I put together.
please, yeah, please.
We just need to
Anything
have
that'd
like
be great.
a plan together for the staff, and maybe that'll
Yeah.
be included with Wash-Dry-Fold POS systems in the future. Here's the thing: you just
There you
put your
go.
phone numbers and your names. You give this to
Yeah.
all your employees.
That might not be a bad feature to have on the POS, where all the staff can be reached from at least their information can be retrieved from there,
Like an emergency button or
like an
something
emergency
that.
something. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not a bad idea. You're always
Cool.
helping us build our software, man. You're our product developer.
Unofficial
Yeah.
product developer.
Honorary. Put that on your LinkedIn if you want.
on my
Honorary,
LinkedIn.
product developer now. Man,
There
I
you
really
go.
appreciate it. I always have so much fun seeing you. It's always great to see you at the clean shows, and
Always a pleasure.
really appreciate your time today, man.
Yeah, no, appreciate it.
one.
I'm glad I was able to do it, and thank you for the opportunity as well.